Hey guys, today we're checking out Aqara's doorbell. This is the G410. It is a doorbell together with a hub. It's actually got a lot more features than you would expect from a simple doorbell. Let's open up and go through it. The box itself is very inconspicuous. It's quite small and it's a bit surprising. The last doorbell we reviewed, it was a lot more sizable, and I'm hoping we get a lot more features out of this. So in the set we have the doorbell itself, and you can mount it flat straight onto whatever surface you have as it is. You have a little side mount, so you can mount it at an angle at your door. And you have a little door chime, which is also a smart home hub. Also you have some screws to mount it all, a little screwdriver, as well as USB Type-C cable. The USB Type-C cable is going to be for the door chime to power it somewhere inside your house. Bear in mind that for it to work, these two need to be paired together, and this then connects to the internet, or it could be run offline if needed. And they need to be within 10 meters of each other in order for the communication to work properly. And obviously we have a little manual and just general documentation. We also have a set of batteries, and that's because Aqara's opted to go with a device without any built-in batteries, so you're not stuck with something that you can't replace over time. You can replace the batteries, or if you really wanted to, you can actually have this set up in a wired configuration. Something to bear in mind, this is not fully weatherproofed. It has weatherproofing, but it does expect to be under a shelter. Let's get this device set up on the app. For that, the first thing we need to do is actually open up this little slot over here, and you'll see a screw just here. So you just unscrew this, and it's actually quite nice. It's kind of captive in there. Once that's done, you can actually open up the back. And here you have the two power terminals, if you want to have it wired in like a normal doorbell, or you can just install the batteries. So we'll do that. It's kind of an interesting choice for Aqara to go with physical batteries like this, rather than providing a rechargeable battery you can take out and charge yourself. But to be honest, I have a bunch of batteries that I can use at home already. I probably prefer this approach. So with the batteries in, it's now no longer as light and plasticky. So we've got that in. Now the next step is to install this little device. So for the hub, you just need to undo your cable. And for now, I'm just going to plug it into my laptop for power. This could be any normal USB. It's not really using much power. I believe it's using just a few watts. It's using 1 amp at 5 volts, so it's not exactly power hungry. So that's installed. Got the batteries in here. Now we've got both of these devices plugged in, and hopefully it should be just online. I'm just going to press add accessory. And with Aqara, what's nice is you can use the little QR code and just locate the QR code on the device. Perfect. So you have a number of codes on the back. So you have the little product code, you also have a HomeKit code and Aqara code. So you need to choose whichever one you want to connect. This device itself supports multi-protocols. So you can have it using HomeKit, you can have it set up with Zigbee, Matter over Thread, or if you really want to, directly to the Aqara itself. You have a lot of opportunity to set it up the way you want it to be used. Depending on which protocol you use, you might have some reduction in the features that it provides. I would say using the Aqara app directly is most of the time going to be the most powerful, you get the most features. But we'll see what other options we have once we set it up. So let me just connect it to Wi-Fi. And
network connecting, please wait.
It's actually quite loud, but it doesn't clip. Some of these devices, when they're very loud, they make a kind of squeaking voice. This doesn't sound too bad, so we'll see what it actually sounds like once it's fully set up.
The account is bound successfully. Welcome aboard.
So it automatically asks me what Matter controller do you want to connect. We'll just skip that for now. Just gonna set it up. So we go the doorbell. Within the app, we have settings such as face detection, temper detection. Since this device can be removed off your wall by just undoing this little screw, technically speaking, if somebody has a little screwdriver, they can just come over and steal it from you. So you want to have your tamper mode on, so that way if somebody did try to mess with it, at least you get a notification for it. It's actually already telling me that there's a linger detected, so it's kind of gone red. This is a good time to talk about the camera quality itself. It's a 2K camera using a 3 megapixel sensor, and it's using a 4:3 aspect ratio, which means it's a lot more square, which is very convenient. So a lot of cameras currently on the doorbells use a standard 16:9 ratio, which means you get more of the flat or more of a horizontal video and less of the vertical feed. With this, it's more square, so therefore if somebody's left a package by your door, you should be able to actually see it below. So in the view here, I actually see literally all of me, the whole table, and I can see the ceiling, which is really, really cool. And you have a bunch of features straight away. It's been ringing at me because I'm literally standing in front of the door. Let's just do a quick test. I'm just gonna pretend I'm using the doorbell. So it immediately rings on the little ringer here, and it does have a bit of feedback on the back here as well, which is really nice. We can straight away see here, you've got playback of people moving around. So in this case, me moving back and forth because I'm moving. It's actually recording that all the whole time. By default, it pushes you to record into the cloud, which is, look, it's how you prefer. For me, I actually don't really like any recordings up to the cloud because I don't have control over that. This device actually supports local recording. You can actually record to your local network recorder, like NVR. So you can keep all the recordings local to your home and never send anything into a cloud. The other thing to mention is this camera is using a f1.8 aperture, so it actually opens up really wide, therefore it lets a lot of light in. But if it's completely pitch black, it also supports infrared, and it's using a 940 nanometer wavelength, which makes it invisible to a naked eye. So it's not like one of those lights that is kind of shining in red, so it's a bit more inconspicuous, and it's a bit more convenient. In terms of motion detection, this camera is actually not using PIR. It's using millimetre-wave, which is a lot more accurate. It does take up a little bit more power, but because of that, it's actually able to be a lot more accurate in terms of catching people, rather than just having some foliage or a tree kind of moving back and forth in front of your camera. On top of all of that, it has AI recognition, which is done on camera. So I should be able to register my face, and it should actually recognize it's me. Let's get into the camera itself. So with the lighting here, the camera quality is actually excellent. I'm really impressed with that. Let's just go through the features that we have and the settings that we can do. There's a bunch of settings here. You can go from doorbell, and you have different doorbell. So you actually have ability to check your doorbell connection strength. So once it goes further away, it actually tells you, whether your connection is strong or weak. You've got the doorbell settings themselves. So for example, right now it has a little red indicator. You can actually have that turned off. So it just goes completely blank. And even if you click, it's off. I prefer the little light on because when we have deliveries that come to our house, there's a tendency of them using the wrong button. So having a bright red button shining at them, that you click it. And I believe for that button to be enabled, you can actually set it to only turn on when the person comes up to it. So let me just point this away so it doesn't see me. So nothing here. As you walk in the frame, it lights up. And you can tell that a user coming up to the door will know it's enabled. You can also change what happens with the power settings. Depending on where you're located in the world, you might want to change your power frequency. So for example, where we're located here in Singapore, you would use a 50 Hertz power, so your lights are not strobing. In the US, I believe it's 60 on some of the locations as well. So you have ability to flip between the two, so you don't get in a situation where your LED lights around you are just flickering all the time. You also have ability to enable high and low temperature alarms straight from the amp here. In terms of ringtone settings, you got the volume. You got a few choices. You have 3 choices, and obviously you can control the loudness of it. So by default, it's set to 80% as well, so you can get loud. You can also select a custom audio file for your own ringer. If you really wanted to, you could probably troll people and have something like a barking dog or something. It's up to you. And they have their own cloud subscriptions. You can enable a lot more features with their Home Guardian features. So you can do integrations and custom alerts. For that, you will need to pay for their subscription. So that's something you might want to consider. Since it's Aqara and they have a big ecosystem, you can actually integrate different events. So for example, if somebody presses the doorbell, or maybe even detection is noticed on a doorbell, you can actually send a signal up to enable some lighting, rather than using PIR lighting. You can also select your events to trigger some other things that happen around your house. For example, if somebody's outside the door, you can click you can enable your internal lighting all the way up to the door. So as you're coming up to the door, you're not walking through darkness. As an example, there's, the actual possibilities are kind of endless. You can also see that it has a feature for RTSP LAN preview, and that's specific that you can send data over to your local recorder via RTSP protocol, which is very convenient. It also has a bunch of security settings. You can turn on password, change password. You also have an accidental removal protection where this device is locked down to your account, so nobody can just take it off and reset it without somebody going to your account and removing it from there, which is a nice feature, so nobody can actually just go ahead and steal it. I'm gonna set this up and actually test it over the next few days and see how it delivers, and then I can just report back and see what kind of experience we got. On paper, the Aqara G410 looks good, but after extended use, it's the day-to-day behavior that really matters. Linger detection is where a lot of doorbells fall apart. Aqara gives you control over linger time anywhere from 0 to 30 seconds, adjust detection distance from 1 to 5 meters, and even define active hours. In our environment, the shorter linger times caused false alerts from people walking past, so extending it fixed the issue. If you live in a quiet area, you can dial it back, but the flexibility here matters. The proximity trigger works exactly as advertised. As someone approaches, the device wakes up and the ring lights up. It feels responsive without being jumpy. Compared to the PIR-based doorbells, this millimetre-wave setup is noticeably more consistent and far less prone to random triggers from foliage or light changes. Ringing behavior is also well thought out. You can set the do not disturb schedules, which is something that we strongly recommend enabling at night. Aqara also nudges you pretty hard towards cloud uploads for event clips. And while this might be fine for some users, we personally avoid it whenever possible. One of the standout features here is the AI face detection, and I was glad to see that this part is not paywalled. Face recognition runs locally on a device, setup is guided clearly in the app, and in our testing it worked almost immediately. You can tweak the recognition timing and sensitivity, and it is genuinely useful. If you want notification when your kids get home or confirmation a familiar face was detected while you are away, this certainly delivers. Aqara also offers AI video search and AI summaries, both tied to the Home Guardian subscription. These features are designed around keyword-based searches. It's well established in the professional CCTV systems, and whether it makes sense for your setup depends on how heavily you rely on reviewing the recorded footage. Storage-wise, installing an SD card into the chime is straightforward. Formatting it on install is recommended, and once set up, you can enable loop recording so it behaves more like a traditional CCTV system, overwriting the oldest footage automatically. This one is one of the stronger design choices here, especially since the storage isn't on the outdoor unit. If you want continuous recording or RTSP streaming, wiring the doorbell is mandatory. Just remember that on battery power, those features are restricted, which is understandable. The downside is that Aqara doesn't include a power supply in the box, so that's an extra cost you need to factor in. On the smart home side, the G410 acts as a Matter controller and connect to third-party devices. Our Home Assistant setup wasn't completely smooth at first. Matter pairing worked fine with Google Home, but failed repeatedly with Home Assistant on Android. The workaround was adding it through the Apple HomeKit first, then exposing it to Home Assistant. After that, it worked reliably. Strange process, but once configured, it was solid. Inside Home Assistant, we can monitor events, doorbell presses, and access the video feed. That opens the door to proper automations, lights, notifications, or more complex logic if you want to go that far. Battery behavior has been reassuring as well. The doorbell continued functioning even with 5 out of 6 batteries installed, which suggests that Aqara has built in a decent power margin. That's exactly what you would want from a battery-powered security device. Overall, the G410 offers a strong mix of hardware capability and software flexibility. You get a solid video quality, genuinely useful AI features, and surprising amount of control, especially if you're willing to wire it in. The subscription push is noticeable, but not mandatory, and the core experience stands on its own. Thanks for watching. If you think this doorbell might be what you need, check out the link below for more details. As always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more. We'll see you in the next one.